trip, and it was actually really cold. The floorboard of my old truck actually had a sheet of ice on it, and we had drove probably 6 or 7 miles, and it still had ice on it in the floorboard. And I guess from the day before I tracked in, I guess my feet had defrosted, and I mean, there was a thick sheet of ice on the bottom of my floorboard. Well, anyways, my wife can attest to this. We had an old washing machine and give up the ghost. And I decided, you know what? I'm finally going to break down and buy. I had repaired this one, put a new transmission in it, a new, everything on the thing I had replaced. The tank, the tub and everything. I put pieces on it. And that day there, I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm getting a new one. And we hopped in the truck, and it was a little Chevy Love. And standard. And we went to go, and we started sliding on the snow and the ice. And as we're sliding, I couldn't do anything. I'm looking at oncoming traffic, and we're turning completely sideways, and I'm looking at traffic this way, and I've got the wheels cut hard. And of course, if any of y'all ever slid on ice, you'll find out the steering wheel, they might as well take it out of the vehicle, because it ain't doing no good at all. We're just sliding, and we're going completely this way, and the next time I'm looking at people going this way, and there's oncoming traffic, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I couldn't do anything. I did grab a lower gear, and that's all I could get done. But in the midst of all of it, I heard my wife scream out one thing, Jesus! And I'll never forget. We immediately straightened up, and we stopped on the edge of the road, not in the grass, or not off in the snow and the ice, but right there at the edge of the road, pointed in the right direction, all wheels up on the pavement still. We should have slid off the road. We should have hit a car. Should have been so many things. And all she could say was one word. Jesus! And it was like something got a hold of our vehicle and just, right here is where you stop. What a powerful name it is. I think so many times we find ourselves, and I don't know why I feel led to do this, but I think so many times we find ourselves facing things of life that are more than we can stand. We face the enemy. And I think, Brother Kerry, it's as simple as saying, Jesus, I need your help. Yes. Jesus, you got to fix this. Yes. And leave it there. Amen? Amen? Jesus, you handle it. You will handle it. You are able to handle it. Amen? Amen. How many of y'all have ever had something that just really tasted good? Yeah. How many of y'all, you know, the other day we actually had, we had chips because we had so many chips, but we had like open, you might call them open tacos. Because what we did was put a bunch of white tortilla chips on the plate, and then we let the kids get, I need to get a clip for this, but I'll right now just put it around my neck.
I have one in my pocket.
Do you really?
I brought it.
What? Got so big. But anyways, I didn't even want, you know, I've been cooking, but people that came in, we had some that came in and said, you know, no, I'm not hungry, I'm not hungry. But when you walked in the gym, it was like, man. It did smell really good. We had that taco meat. We made up like 10 pounds. Thank you so much. That is absolutely perfect. Man, he's a pretty sharp. Always ahead. Just happen to have it in the pocket. Just happen to have it. I just happen to need it. But you just happen to have it in the pocket. Do you not see God always at work? He's there every day, all the time.
Yes, he is.
He's so far ahead of, I like to think of it that way, brother, is he's so far ahead of us that it's kind of embarrassing. It's like, when I get on the same page with him, he's like, yeah, King, I've been here for a long time. I try to tell people that it's as simple as this. If you can imagine it, imagine this. If this was a race, he is at the beginning of the race,
yes,
and he's standing at the end of the race.
Amen.
He has been, always will be, he's already at the end of time, end of what man calls time, he's standing there. And he's actually looking back and going, I've been here the whole time. It's you guys that have to catch up with me. I'm there. There. Does that work? I have found out that the internet is for more than what the world says it is. That we have been putting our messages on YouTube, and the other day when I went to send it to somebody, I went to pull it up, and there it was all the way across. I was like, what? And I don't like to think about it, but I did think, you know what? I want them to hear what God has to say to them. But I said all this to say this. How many of y'all have had in the past, have had something like that was just amazing? You just walk in the door, maybe it was Grandma's cookies. Maybe it was Grandma's brownies. Brother Scott's going to laugh about that. Somebody lay hands on him. He needs prayer. I'll let you all find out about that later. But there are things in life that you can smell. Now, let me tell you something. There's some things that because my great aunts and my granny, they were my grandma's sisters and brother, they all could cook like, I mean, look at me. I am a product of their food. They cook so good. It don't matter how much I work, Branson, I still can't lose all that they would feed me. But I still remember, they used to make a pumpkin bread, sister-in-law, they grew their own. They actually used butternut squash. But they'd use in butternut squash, figs, dates, raisins, pecans that come right off the trees outside. And I'm going to tell you what, amazing. You would just eat it and it was just like, I know y'all are thinking, pumpkin, I'm telling you, you haven't had any kind of bread until you've had this bread. It was like you'd eat a slice this big and you'd be like, part of you'd be going, I'm so full, but the rest of you'd be going, I think I could eat that loaf. I'll be sick, but I'd rather be sick is to leave that bread sitting there. I said that to say this. I still can sense it. I remember and I can smell it. Even though faith is the substance of things hoped for, I hope to get that again someday. I don't have to actually have it in my hand to remember it and to know that it was real. I would like to talk to you about faith this morning. And I think I left my Bible back there somewhere. Some guy back there.
Look, she has it.
I know it. It was in her pocket too. No wonder I can't find anything. Somebody go through Sister Felicia's pockets. I'd like to talk to you about faith this morning. In the book of Mark, chapter 9, verses 14 through 29, I want to read this, and I know we're pushed for time, but I feel led of God to read this. When they came to the other disciples, they saw a large crowd around them, and the teachers of the law arguing with them. As soon as all the people saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed with wonder and ran to greet him. What are you arguing with him about? He asked. A man in the crowd answered, Teacher, I brought you my son, who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of speech. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive out the spirit, but they could not. You unbelieving generation, Jesus replied, how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me. So they brought him. When the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell into the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the boy's father, how long has he been like this? From childhood, he answered. It has often thrown him into the fire or water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. If you can. Said, if you can, I want you to catch that, because in the last verse, he says, if you can, Jesus. Yeah. And then Jesus replies back, if you can, said Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, I do believe. And here it is. Help me overcome my unbelief. Immediately the boy's father, when Jesus saw, we'll go on to the next one, here's my fault. When Jesus saw that a crowd was running into the scene, he rebuked the impure spirit. You deaf and mute spirit, he said, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. The spirit shrieked, convulsed him violently, and came out. The boy looked so much like a corpse that many said, he's dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him to his feet, and he stood up. After Jesus had gone indoors, his disciples asked him privately, why couldn't we drive it out? He replied, this kind comes out only by prayer, and if you read it in the King James and some other versions, by prayer and fasting. This one only comes out when you get serious. I want to tell you something. I believe that the Lord spoke to me and told me that one of our greatest needs and one of our greatest weaknesses is our faith. Now, how many of y'all come across a young man that's convulsing and bouncing around on the floor and foaming at the mouth and he's got an evil spirit? Thank you, brother. I have actually been there myself too. But it's kind of rare. You're not going to see this every day. Now, let me ask you another question. How many of y'all come across people that the devil would like to throw them in fire, and he'd like to throw them in the water, and he would like to seek, steal, and kill them? Every day. Every day. I come across people that the enemy would like to kill, to steal, and destroy everything he can from them. Yes. Just because he's not throwing them in a fire right there in front of me, if he had his way, he'd do it. If he had his way, he's going to kill them by a car, by alcohol, by drugs, by a gun, by a knife, any way he can think of it. If he can keep them breathing, and they're out there destroying everything God creates, by spewing vulgarities and spewing things that change people's hearts and minds, he's going to do whatever he's got to do to get people to steal, to kill, and destroy. And Jesus tells them that, listen, if you have faith, this could have been done a long time ago. This man owns up and he tells the truth, and it's the truth that all of us need to say. Yes, sir. God, I believe. How many of y'all believe that Jesus is alive? Yes, sir. Now, how many of you, with the other hand, would have to say, but God, I need some help with my unbelief, apparently, because sometimes I still take off and go the opposite direction of what you want. Still, sometimes when they call me and tell me that I don't have enough money, or that I look at my bank account and I see I don't have enough money to pay the bills, still I doubt. Fear grips me. When my family situation is going crazy, I get these fears in my heart that it can't be done. And it can't be handled. And I'm sure that Jesus is looking down at his children and saying the same thing that he said to that crowd. How long am I going to have to put up with you? My goodness. How many times we got to go across the Red Sea for you to get it through your head? I got you handled. I'm telling you, as somebody's been saved for 30 some odd years, I got to tell you what, it hasn't always been that easy for me. When the Lord told me I'll provide for you, I'll tell you what, it took some time, Sister Chiffon, when the bills would get way past what I thought they should be paid. And then somebody would make a phone call and say, hey, I need you to build this room addition. Or I'd get those phone calls, hey, I need a house built. Or hey, I need this building built. It took years for me to go, you know what? I don't know why I worry about this. Every time, for the last 10 years, every time I've had a need, maybe it didn't happen when I thought, Sister Loma, but somewhere along the line, God provided. And sooner or later you get to that point, it's kind of stupid for me to worry about this when he's always got my back. He's always got a clip in somebody's pocket. Amen. I don't know who it is, but somebody's got your clip. Yeah, thank you, sister, for being a part of this message this morning. I'd like us to read Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. I believe that God spoke to my heart and said, faith has two parts. Faith has two parts, and it's right here. And without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists, and he rewards those who earnestly seek him. This morning I'd like to talk about the first part of that. If you'll read chapter 11 of Hebrews, you're going to find out, does anybody here that is a scholar, can they tell me what Hebrews 11 is? It is the faith chapter. It is the Hall of Fame for faith. If you got problems with faith, you ought to read this chapter every day until you ain't got problems with faith no more. But I want to look at the first two of these if I could. And I'm not going to even go into the first two of them. You should know by being in I don't know, all the way back to Head Start. Everybody ought to know who Noah is. He's the first one listed in the book. In the chapter, as far as the row of honorees of faith, Noah is the first one. And I want to show you something about Noah. Noah had never built an ark before. Ain't something he'd done before. Ain't something, to be honest with you, I don't know of any. There might have been some Sister Morgan that have tried. I don't know. Nobody had ever built an ark. We all know the story. If you don't know the story, let me tell you, it had never rained. All they'd ever got was heavy dews and heavy mist. You know, it would kind of, but as far as like Oklahoma rain, where it rains for 24, 36 hours and you think you're going to get washed away and nobody even wants to go outside because it doesn't relent. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm going to go to the car as soon as it stops raining. Well, you're going to be there a while because it ain't going to stop raining. Y'all know that look. You look outside, you're like, oh, it's set in for a while. And you look at the radar and it's raining all the way back to the East Coast or the West Coast, maybe both coasts. And you're like, uh-oh, we're going to get a lot of rain. Faith. Noah had faith to build an ark when nobody else believed a word he said. Noah kept preaching, Sister Loma, though nobody else believed a word he said. He kept doing what God told him because he believed God. It can't be that simple. I'm afraid it is that simple. When God asks you to do something, just believe that God is and that He exists. That is the first leap. If that's what you got to do first. That's your first hurdle. You've got to trust that God is real. In today's vernacular, you got to believe God's got your back. And that He's not so far back that He can't run up there and catch you. No, I mean He's right there. I don't like to say He's got your back. If He's got my back, it's because He's standing right beside me. I like the song, there's one song that says, He goes before me. He's there before me. I told you about that race, amen? He's at the beginning of your race. He's at the end of your race. He's at the beginning of your... He was there when you were conceived. He was there when you came out. And He'll be there when you go out. Amen? Amen? And He'll be there if you trust Him, and if you'll take Him, and if you'll believe Him. Because I read over and over again, and it's so plain in this scripture, I had to use this scripture. It's impossible to please Him without it. But yet I feel like faith is what we struggle with. It is the thing that holds us back from seeing all that God wants to complete in us. Do you realize? Forget Obama, forget Reagan, forget the Trumps. Noah and his wife and his kids, that's the first family. Amen. End of story. That's the first family. You know, I got to thinking about it. I don't care if you're Indian, Mexican, African. I don't care where you come from. We all came from Noah, apparently. Because everybody else got destroyed, right? So we have a great, I don't know how many greats back there, is our great-grandfather. So whether you like it, we're all kin. We're all brothers and sisters. If we accept God, if we accept His Word and what He said, if we have faith. Noah was asked to be the beginning of all things again. Think about that. What? You're going to start with this gene pool? God, have you seen my notes? Can't you find somebody? Is Brad Pitt not available? Is Brother Carey, Brother Scott not available? You know, there's got to be some better looking guys around. You know, you're going to start with me? Can you imagine that? Noah's asked to start the whole world over with him and his family. But never once do I read that he says, you know what? I'm probably not the right one, Lord. You know what he does? He goes to a local hardware store and says, you know what? I'm going to need a good saw. We got a lot of wood to cut. Boys, you fix and get the work out of your life. Can anybody guess how long it took to build the ark?
40 years.
Huh?
40 years.
No. 120 years. 120 years. Now, how many of y'all expect to live much longer than 80 or 90 years old? I don't. Sometimes I don't want to. Amen. I'm sometimes like, you know what? There comes a point where you just put the car out to pasture because it's just unfixable. And sometimes I get up and I go, you know what, Lord? I don't know how many years I got left for you going to put me in the pasture. I'm joking. 120 years. Noah had to get up every morning and say, by faith, people are laughing at me. I've got family members that think I'm an idiot because I serve God with all my heart, mind, soul, and strength. Because I have faith in a God that I have not seen yet. That I have a hope in a heaven that I have not seen yet. I've not been there yet. Yet, but what He has shown me, and what He has given me, this ain't the first clip God ever put in my life. He's always providing for me. When I have a need, my God provides every time. Did you hear me? Every time He has provided for me.
Amen.
And I have no doubt that if He leaves me in this world for another 50 years or 30 years or 10 years, I will be provided for. Why? Because I'm going to seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all this other stuff will be taken care of. That's what His Word says, and by faith, I believe it. For 120 years, Noah got up every morning and said, listen, the world's going to start with me. I don't know how I'm going to do it. That's a lot of responsibility. To be the father of everything. I'm the grandpa to everybody? That's a lot. God, I hope I do right. Did He make mistakes? We find out, yeah, He did. He made mistakes right off the bat. Was He perfect? No. But by faith, He was put in the book. And by faith, He built that ark. And by faith, him and his family were saved. The second one that's listed, Abraham. Abraham. And you know what? Abraham was just like me and you, going through his everyday life. Going to church, I'm sure he was worshiping. He was somebody God could talk to and use. So I'm sure he was going to church. I'm sure he was read up in the Word. I'm sure he prayed to God. And one day God said, listen, Abraham, I want you to pack up all your stuff. Now think about this. Sister's fine, I want you to pack all your stuff. I want to put all your money. I want you to gather up all your family. And I want you to go across the world. Somewhere you've never been before. I want you to go live amongst strangers. He was a stranger in a foreign land. Didn't know nobody. It ain't like he had an ATM card he could take with him, you know. Our family back home, everybody went with him. He just left everything he had and took off. I don't know. And guess what he was promised? You're going to be the father of many nations. And you're fatherless. You have no children. Sarah, God says we're going to be the father of many nations. Matter of fact, later on when the angels came and when the Lord Himself comes to Abraham and says, listen, 1 year from now I'm going to come back and you're going to have a son. Sarah's in the other room. She's old. She's 90. And she goes, I'm serious. Read the Bible. It says she laughed. Does he not know I'm old? My womb is dead. I'm way past it. I'm thinking, I got to give Sarah a little bit of props here. I got to admit,